What is up, Pitt fans? Thank you so much for tuning in to Inside the Panthers on YouTube. My name is Steven Thompson, here with our intern, Jack Markowski. He's been helping me out. You guys have read his stuff all throughout football and basketball season, but now we're bringing him over to the video side. We are here to recap another ACC loss for the Pitt Panthers. They are 72-68 losers in Miami, Florida to the Hurricanes. A tough game. The Panthers fell behind by as many as 19 in the second half, battled back. It was a really valiant effort, and it seemed like had a chance to either tie or win the game on their last possession and maybe came out on the wrong side of a controversial no call. But, I mean, some good fight for the Panthers, but at this point, you know, how much does fight matter when you keep losing games? And, you know, how does this, you know, where do you kind of go from here? I mean, the results are pretty much what they are. You know, you keep losing games, you know, you can only talk about growth so much. But, you know, I want to talk a little bit about Jack, and I'll throw it to you first. What did you feel like changed for the Panthers? What was the biggest reason they were able to maybe get some shots falling and get back into this game after being down by so many in the first half and early in the second?
I think it just all came down to better shot making. You look at, you know, the first half was pretty much as bad as it got at one point. They shot better down the stretch. I thought the ball movement especially got better. They took great control of the ball. And they didn't force anything either. Like, you looked at how attacking the rim went, like their layups, it just wasn't working. And second chance opportunities were big too. They scored 11 second chance points. Jaylen Low stepped up. He hit 2 huge threes down the stretch. Ishmael Leggett played well. Hinson. And then even if you turn it over to the defensive side, Miami shots, I think they sort of flipped roles where in the first half Miami couldn't miss and Pitt couldn't make anything. You saw Miami's three-point shots just started to not fall. And really, I think both teams' numbers returned to the norm down the stretch. It became much more of the game that we expected it to be. So, like you said, they fought back. They've shown glimpses of that all year. Mizzou and Clemson come to mind. It didn't work out, but at some point, you know, it's going to have to result in a win for them. But yeah, I think they just shot better in general, took good control, good care of the ball, and really flipped the script from the first to the second half.
Yeah, I think you made a good point about them being able to get downhill and get into the paint, you know, drive the ball. I think especially the guards, like, they really struggled in the first half. I thought Ishleggett, even early in the second half. Same for Lowe and Carrington. Settled for a lot of jumpers early on. Just weren't able to get downhill, get to the rim, get a paint touch for this team. And you can see kind of the whole offense kind of gets powered by those paint touches, that ability to draw defenses in. And it opens up stuff for guys like Blake Hinson, who hit, I believe, I want to say only 2 of his threes in the second half, but you felt like he had a lot better looks from 3 in the second half. I felt like Lowe and even Ishleggett as well. Like, everyone kind of got better looks at the basket when Pitt kind of started things with a paint touch. And I think as soon as they started to kind of, first of all, realize that, like, Miami's guards, like, aren't great defensively. They can't really stick with the guys fast as Jaylen Low or even Bub Carrington and Ishleggett. Like, once they kind of, I think, realized what, you know, that driving the ball really opens up so much for them as an offense, I think that's where things kind of changed. I thought they've got, like, decent looks for most of the game, you know, like, it's kind of been I sound like a broken record, I feel like, but for most of the time when I don't know, there's more often than not when Pitt is struggling to shoot, I don't think it's necessarily because of bad shot selection on the whole. Like, I think for the most part, it's just good looks not falling down.
Yeah, especially in the first half. Like, a lot of those misses were not a result of, you know, bad decision making, bad shot selection. It just, they weren't falling. And you saw that sort of, you know, return to the norm, course correct in the second half. It's been an issue all season, really, where they just can't seem to be consistent for most of the game, even though they have shot makers or they're getting good looks. So I don't know how you remedy that, but yeah, it's really was more of the same.
Right. And there's not like an easy solution for it. I mean, you watch you watch them just clang like open looks off the rim, and you're kind of just left scratching your head because, I mean, you got to take shots when they're open. You got to take good shots, and I think you're right. Like this team has shot makers and they have talent. They have offensive talent, but it's just not going down for them at certain times. And they're just kind of they're a make or miss team, and it's unfortunate when basketball analysis has to come down to that. But you make shots, you win. You miss shots, you lose for the most part. Speaking of looks and speaking of good looks versus bad look, what did you make of the final possession, the final play call? We'll start there. Just what Jeff Capel had drawn up for the Panthers. They were down only 2 with about 10 seconds left. Jaylen Low, gets a switch onto Norchad Omier. He goes up for a 3, trying to draw contact, doesn't get the call. What did you make of the look that the Panthers had on their last possession?
So just to start off, I don't mind Jaylen Low getting the ball there. It was a mismatch too. What I will say is I think that there should have been a little bit more urgency in getting a good look there. I don't think he went up until there were 3 or 4 seconds left. So, if he wanted to blow by Omier, take advantage of the mismatch, I don't know how much time he would have had. It's not a bad shot or play call in principle, but I do think there was a little, less nuance to the play call than I would have liked to see personally. There, it seemed like, a call that wasn't fit for the moment necessarily, but at the same time, it's not a bad shot, so it's frustrating because, he may have gotten fouled. You don't hate the look, but it didn't work out. And, I think it's something to learn from moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so I'd kind of say it was not a great shot. I thought it was a decent look. You get, like I said, Jaylen Low had been blown by Miami's guards all afternoon. And so you get him onto a 250-pound center, and I'll take that matchup all day. I just think Low has to make the right decision in that scenario, and I don't think he did necessarily, even if, we'll talk about it in a second, even if I think he did get fouled there. I don't think that's the look that I don't know. I don't think that was the best look that they could have gotten. I think someone with low speed matched up on a center like that, you got to attack the basket. And like I said, this team's best offense comes with them going to the basket. So I kind of agree. I don't think it was a bad play call in principle. I just think the execution on the floor wasn't necessarily great. And like you said, this is a young player. I think Jaylen is savvy, and I think he's pretty smart, and I think he makes good decisions most of the times. This was just, I think, quite honestly, a youth moment, like a freshman moment for him, one that, like you said, he can learn from. But just, I don't think it's what Pitt needed in that moment. And, I don't put that on Jeff Capel, to be quite honest. Like, you're scrolling Twitter or whatever after the game. I saw a lot of people, especially in the immediate aftermath, saying, what's that play call? Why isn't Blake Hinson touching the ball? I agree with that point you made too. I don't mind Jaylen Low, who was one of, I believe, their hottest shooter. If you kind of go, I mean, Hinson scored 21, but he was 8 of 19, and Low was 17 on 6 of 13. That's efficient, and I like that. And I like having, Jeff Capel even said after the game, like you want the ball in a guard's hand in that situation, just because, you want them to initiate things, like, especially with so little time left. Like, I don't think you could have really drawn up that great of a look for Hinson, or one that was even better than what Low got. So I don't think I necessarily agree with the play call either, but just the execution wasn't as good as I think as it could have been. Now, getting to what they actually did get. I think you alluded to it a little bit. I said I thought it was a foul. Did you think that was a foul? It looked like Norchad Omier got a healthy piece of Jaylen Low's arm on that last shot.
I do think it was a foul. It's always so tough, like if you're just talking about it from the referee's standpoint. I feel like more so you never see that called in the final seconds. But I do think it was a foul. I do think he should have gone to the line where we saw him make 2 of 2 just a minute earlier to cut it to 2 points. So it's a tough break for Pitt. And they did deserve to get a chance to tie it up there.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I said, I mean, even it was funny just watching it on the TV broadcast. The announcers, I think, were like they weren't sure at first. Like they didn't know whether or not it was a foul. And then they show them a replay, and it's one of those moments where they're seeing it for the first time, at the same time that you are. And they're saying, oh, that is a foul. That was a lot of contact there. So yeah, I thought that was a foul too. I mean, the other side of that though is this is a team that shot 56% from the line as for the afternoon. And I mean, I know Low was 3 for 4, but while there was a foul, I'm not sure there's a guarantee that he makes all 3 or even the 2 that's necessary. Something the team has struggled with all season long. So you kind of wonder how much that matters necessarily, but I think I agree with you. They at least deserved a chance to go to the line and to maybe tie that up. They at least deserved, a chance to give it a shot. Moving on a little bit, getting to kind of a bigger picture question. I mean, more struggles from the front court today. Federico, he started 3 points, 1 of 1 shooting, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. I believe he had a block or 2 as well. He had 2 blocks and just 1 turnover, but kind of a quiet presence, especially considering that Pitt was beaten on the boards by 4. That's not something we talk about very often, is Pitt getting beaten on the glass. That usually doesn't happen. It's been a pretty strong rebounding team all year, but Guillermo Diaz-Graham wasn't that much of an impact either. It didn't make that much of an impact either coming off the bench. Hit a 3, scored 3 points, but only 2 rebounds and assist, and did it in 8 minutes. He was only 1 of 4 from the field. Just didn't seem like the Panthers really had or really have an answer anywhere for a guy like Norchad Omier, for a guy who's so big and so physical and so strong, and just more struggles from the front court. And with that in mind, where do you go from here if you're Jeff Capel? What kind of moves do you make? Because it doesn't seem like there is an obvious option or an obvious answer at center right now.
Yeah, there's no easy answer or way to manage their inconsistencies. Federico is reinserted into the lineup as a way to add more physicality and a bit more of a defensive edge on the interior than Guillermo. That didn't necessarily bear fruit against Norchad Omier, who also gave Federico issues last year. And I do think the team has, in general, looked better with Federico as the starter over Guillermo, but at the same time, you sacrifice your spacing, your shooting, and all-around offensive upside with that move. Because Federico doesn't give you anything besides maybe being a lob threat as a roller. He doesn't have refinement. It's just a tough situation to be in. And with Guillermo, you can't trust him against another team's big man, especially in the post. He's a good shooter, but that's, unfortunately, really one of the only upsides that he brings to the team consistently. So, and another issue is they have 0 depth now, especially with Jorge Diaz-Graham going down for the season. Austin and Jeffress maybe, but it seems like Jeffress is sort of fallen out of favor. I think he only played 1 minute today. I could be wrong. So it's a tough situation for Jeff Capel to be in. It's the way the roster's built that has made the front court really just a glaring weakness for this Pitt team. I think they're going to continue to roll with Federico, and they probably should, just based on the fact that they've won 2 of 3, almost won today with him as the starter. But it's also probably more of a game-by-game and matchup-by-matchup basis sort of thing. So we're going to have to see how it plays out. It's not ideal by any means. So we'll have to see how they, fight through that.
Yeah, definitely. I think I agree with you. I mean, I've been kind of Team Fetty, I guess you could say, for most of this year. I mean, I thought he certainly struggled beginning of the year, and it was a big reason why Pitt as a team struggled for through the beginning of the year in the first and kind of the first few games of conference play. But yeah, I mean, there's no obvious answer because, like you said, I mean, Federico, it's like there are times where he's not even like looking at the rim, where he's not converting easy layups or dunks. So he's just, at certain times, I mean, and I know he passed the ball pretty well today, but I mean, there are just certain times where it's like playing 5-on-4 on offense. And then you look at the other side of it, and Guillermo Diaz-Graham, like, there's just no impact defensively or rebounding. He's long, but he gets pushed around real easily. I think he's great at boxing out. And even him offensively, like if he's not shooting threes, if he's not knocking down 3-pointers, I mean, I think his offensive impact is pretty negligible as well, you know, because he doesn't, I don't know, he doesn't do much besides shoot those threes. And so, like you said, they're in a tough spot. There's not a great option, but I think Federico is the answer just because I don't know. I think his floor is a little higher just because you know that even on his worst days, like he gave you 4 rebounds today, like it's fine, you know. And that's the point that we're kind of at is we're looking for fine over objectively bad right now. So, and I mean Fetty, you've seen a track record of him playing for an entire season against ACC big men and doing it really well, like doing those little things well, like rebounding, defending, all the things that you want out of him, like what he did in the Duke game. He did that for a full season last year. And so I think you kind of got to roll with the guy who's maybe more of a sure thing. And I feel like right now that's Federico. So you kind of brought up like playing Austin, maybe Blake Hinson or some Will Jeffress in that spot. Like, do you think going small like that and playing with an undersized quote unquote 5 or just, you know, a bunch of forwards in the 3 guards is a viable option for them?
It's tough. I think that's also a matchup by matchup sort of thing because we saw the 3-guard lineup with Carrington, Leggett, and Low work towards the end of the Georgia Tech game. But it's not always a guarantee that that's, you know, going to result into becoming the best game plan. Like, you know, I don't think you want a guy like Austin or Hinson or Jeffers playing, you know, major minutes against another team's 4 or 5, you know, so especially in the case of Omier. So it's just it's a tough situation for Pitt to be in. I think small ball could work in some situations, but it's just not the way to win, even in today's modern landscape where that, you know, having more size is a key and when small ball is becoming more of a focus in today's game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think I'd be more inclined to give small ball a chance if these guys were better, more consistent shooters, you know, if they were a better offensive team, you know, I'd consider it. You maybe just thinking you can kind of outscore people and live with whatever deficiencies you might have defensively off of that. But yeah, no, I kind of agree. I don't think it would work. I don't think it'd work particularly in long stretches. You can maybe do it for, you know, portions of games against teams sort of like Miami, you know, like Omier is 250 pounds, 248, something like that, but he's also only 6'7". So like it's possible you could see like matching up Blake Hinson with him could work, or even William Jeffress. But you know, you face it could work, you know, next time out when they host Wake Forest. Like Wake's not a particularly big team. They're not, I believe that's their next game is Wake Forest. But I mean, there's certain teams that you could do this against. Yeah. It's Wake Forest. I believe at home, but there's certain teams you could do this against, but just they're a bunch that like you'd get eaten live against North Carolina like that. You get eaten live against Clemson doing that. You know, there are a lot of teams still on the schedule that would just absolutely dominate them, I think, if they tried to go small. So really between a rock and a hard place for Jeff Capel right now. You know, maybe things aren't as bad as before the Duke game, but after another ACC loss and one that you felt like they kind of left on the table because they just had so many good things going for them and they played so well in the second half. It's just kind of like, why didn't you play that way the whole time? But kind of been the story of the Panthers season, a little bit of a streaky team, a little bit of an inconsistent team, and it results in a 2-6 record in ACC play now. With that, we're going to head out of here. Appreciate Jack jumping onto the post-game report for the first time. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@InsideThePanthers. And follow all of our reporting at InsideThePanthers.com. Like I said, appreciate you all tuning in to another Inside Pitt post-game report, and we'll see you next time.